I had that gym, and that gym taught me a discipline. It taught me sacrifice, and it just taught me how to trust my decisions.
All right, guys. Today's guest is a real bodybuilding legend. He's one of the best bodybuilders in the 90s, in the early 2000s. I want to welcome the Maryland Muscle Machine, Kevin Levrone. Kevin, what's up, man? How you doing?
How you doing, my brother? Doing great, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. And it's been an honor for me to finally sit down with you and have this talk. Been looking forward to it. So thank you.
Well, I want to say that for me is the biggest honor because I want to tell you that when I was a kid, probably, and when I started doing bodybuilding, probably you were one of the guys that was on the posters of every gym. So for me right now to speak with you, yeah, it's a great honor. But let me take you back to the small Maryland Muscle Machine. So how did you start with bodybuilding?
I started because I was watching some Bruce Lee movies, back in the day. Bruce Lee was a real huge influence on me, how he was so ripped and so shredded, and the way he could do push-ups and his training philosophies. So that right there was an inspiration for me, and that's what led me into training and working out and everything. So Bruce Lee was the inspiration, man.
I think it was the same for me, but because I was watching Bruce Lee and also Jean-Claude Van Damme, and but let's say Bruce Lee, he wasn't so big, right? He was just shredded. How did it? Who was your inspiration to get into bodybuilding, like a professional bodybuilding?
Well, it went from Bruce Lee, and then it was far as pro bodybuilding. I think I had to, I saw the Incredible Hulk. Here in America, we had that Incredible Hulk came on TV.
Yeah.
Where Lou Ferrigno was the character in the Incredible Hulk. He was just huge. And then my cousin came home from the United States Marine Corps, and I saw what basic training did to him. And that right there was a huge inspiration for me to just want to try to get big. And then that parallel into reading a lot of the Weider magazines and doing research on bodybuilding. And then I stumbled across, it was Pump and Iron with Lou Ferrigno, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, just what they were doing in California. So that right there interests me, and that's what opened the door to bodybuilding.
At what point did you show that you can become a professional bodybuilder?
I think from maybe after I won my second competition, because my first competition was the AAU Mr. Colossus. It was here in Maryland, where I live. I live in Maryland. And they had this competition. And also the same day, they had a bench press powerlifting competition. And I got into the powerlifting competition, and I saw the athletes getting ready for the bodybuilding show right after that. And I didn't know what bodybuilding was at the time, how they pose or anything. And I was looking at the guys getting into the show, and I told my friend, I says, "This is bodybuilding? Well, what is that?" He goes, "Well, they have to go put the trunks on and put oil on their bodies and go and pose." And I'm like, posing. I was like, "That's really strange. What is that?" And I says, "Well, what do they get for winning?" He goes, "Well, they can move and go to the nationals and, be like Arnold Schwarzenegger." So this is what really inspired me, to get into it.
So which year was that?
I noticed that I was a lot, this was like in 1989, but I noticed that I was bigger than these guys and a lot more like developed than they were. So this is the turning point where I went and I competed in that show after the powerlifting show. and I won. I actually won that show, and I made up a routine on stage and everything. So I thought, it's kind of easy. And then I realized that there was the NPC, Maryland State Championships
Yeah.
coming up. So that's when I got into the NPC. And after that, I just never looked back.
Okay, so in '89, did you know who Arnold was? I mean, you knew him from the movies, or not, but not as a bodybuilder.
I didn't know. No, I wasn't even watching the movies because I really didn't know who he was in 1989. I was looking at superheroes, Superman. I was looking at the Incredible Hulk on TV, and these things.
That's very strange.
So Arnold, yeah,
Yeah.
Arnold really wasn't introduced to me till like 1991.
Yeah. So after your first competition, you saw that. Did you won it actually?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you won it.
I won.
So let's say you have a good genetics, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know if I had good genetics or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
but
didn't know.
Right now, how important do you think genetics are in bodybuilding? Because I think that's one of the
Right
most
now?
important things.
I think it's the number one. I think it's the most important thing as far as the shape, symmetry is the most
Yeah.
important. And your muscle belly tie-ins is really important. So genetics is number one.
Yeah, but did you play any other sports before bodybuilding, or you strictly went to bodybuilding?
No other sports, just bodybuilding, Yeah, that was it for me.
And let's say you're getting your pro card at what age?
Me back then, I turned pro, I was 25 years old.
You were 25?
25 years old when I turned pro.
And then what age did you
Mhm.
went at your first Olympia?
25. Well, I turned pro. Yeah, same year. I got second. Actually, I turned pro in 1991 at the Nationals, and then 1992, I got second place at the Mr. Olympia. So
Second place.
It was
Right after
yeah,
Dorian.
it was less than like a year. It was like a year later.
Okay,
after
so
I turned pro.
okay, so who was your biggest competitor during Olympia days?
My first Mr. Olympia, was Dorian Yates. Because he had just competed against Lee Haney, and Lee Haney had won 8 times, and Dorian Yates retired. I mean, Lee Haney retired, so Dorian Yates. It was wide open. 1991, 1992. Mr. Olympia was wide open. There was no winner because Lee Haney had retired. So it was between, top 5. Lee Labrada was third. I was second, and Dorian Yates had won the show. So yeah, it was in Helsinki, Finland, man. That was.
Yeah, speaking about Dorian, I know that and bodybuilders from the 90s in general, I know that you were training very hard in the gym. I mean, very heavy. Do you think that the training methods now are changed? Do you think you guys were training harder than the guys now?
I think we were training harder. Yeah, sure, of course. I think we were. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because
For
I've
sure.
seen. Yeah, because I've seen, the videos of Ronnie Coleman. Also, you were training very heavy. That's what I know.
Heavy and intense, yes.
Yeah. Speaking about the difference between you and today's bodybuilding guys, do you think you're gonna do the same? You're gonna have the same success if you go to bodybuilding now? I mean, with the social media and everything.
I think it would probably be more, because social media is a huge platform to communicate with the entire world. and it's instant. If I was to prepare for a contest today, I can take, and my fans will follow me, in the gym. They follow me,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
home preparing. They would follow me to the show, backstage at the show, in my hotel room. Just very, very hands-on, instant, instant communication. When we were competing back then, there was no instant communication. There was a very, very, they were disconnected because we only had the magazines. It wasn't
yeah,
Facebook
yeah, yeah,
out back
yeah,
then. It wasn't, the internet. It wasn't even really, I think Yahoo was just
yeah.
getting started, So there was no Google, there was no search engines, there was nothing,
Y-
You had to wait 3 months for the magazine to come out to see the photos from the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, I remember those days
Totally
because
different than now, bro.
yeah, I was just a fan back then, so I was watching the magazine
Yeah,
so I can check the pictures and everything. So let's say the only information you have that back then was through the magazines like Flex, Muscle and Fitness.
it was totally,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
yeah, it's so different than now. Like I mean, there is information everywhere at the moment, so you can also connect with bodybuilders, and as a fan, probably it's
Yeah,
a
and,
good thing.
you know, hmm yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Speaking about the
Everybody has an opinion now,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Back then, the opinions only came from the guys at the top. Now every trainer, every guru, every coach has an opinion. Like, but most of these guys haven't even, you know, they don't even know what it is to diet down. A lot of the coaches out there, they don't even have, abs or even done anything. So,
yeah.
you know,
But it's also
it's true.
yeah, yeah. But at some point, probably for today's bodybuilders or today's athletes, it's a little bit harder because of this thing, because everyone has opinion. And let's say you open an Instagram and you see people criticizing you, and you need to be strong mentally and not to get into this game, because I see some
Mm-hmm.
athletes pay attention to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
speaking about differences between you and today's bodybuilders, do you think you guys or today's bodybuilders were taking more steroids or GH?
I don't really know what they are taking,
Yeah.
but I just know what I took, and what I took was not a lot, I didn't really take a lot because back then, we didn't really have a lot of options,
Yeah.
Like today, I think it's more, they have so many more options,
Yeah.
and all of these, there's always something coming out to burn fat, or this whole insulin thing, and
Yeah.
we didn't have all that back in the day,
What did you have
so
back then?
we had test, Deca, Anadrol, Winstrol,
No
and then
GH?
diet, go to the show. I think GH was just coming in around 95 and 96, but um, it was so, nobody really knew that much about it,
So
It was just coming onto the scene.
yeah. So let's say, how do you learn about these things, like about steroids? You go to the gym and someone just tells you, try this or what?
When, well, you're talking about,
Yeah,
no, I
but
mean, a lot of it back in the day was just voice and what people were saying,
yeah,
how to do something, and they do it to today. The same thing that happened now in today's world is, everybody has their own opinion about what they think is best.
yeah.
You know,
So during your competitive days, what was motivating you? Like, what was your mindset, and what's the difference
Mom,
between your mindset then and your mindset now when you are not
I, I,
competing?
I think the mindset is still the same. I mean, a mindset is something that it's just who you are. It's your DNA. The way you
Yeah,
think. It That's just who you are. If you're the type of a person that you're a warrior inside your heart, it's always going to stay that way. Um, and I honestly believe that if there was bodybuilding with no steroids, that the champions still would remain the champions because
yeah,
they always have a champion mindset. There's something about unique athletes at the top level of their game that they're just different. They think different. They live their life different. They process things different, and they don't see failure in anything. They don't see failure. Any obstacles for me. When I see an obstacle, I get excited
yeah.
because I want to try to break down and to overcome and to do something that has never been done before. And I think also what separates the elite athletes from non-elite athletes is being original, being the first one to create a style or um, find a way of getting something accomplished. Like, for instance, I give you uh, a, a scenario when Lee Haney was Mr. Olympia. Lee Haney was competing at 240s, 8-time Mr. Olympia at 240 pounds. And he won 8 Mr. Olympias. He retired before he was 32 years old.
Yeah,
That's unheard of today.
yeah,
And then Dorian Yates came in. And Dorian Yates was one of the first guys that ever competed on the Mr. Olympia stage over 240 pounds. He went into 250, high 250s, 258. He's an original. Lee Haney's an original. Then Ronnie Coleman came in. Ronnie Coleman took it to another level. He competed in his 270s, and ripped and shredded. So these are the guys that paved the way. And this is something that you just find in unique athletes that are destined, and this is only one of a kind. So
do you think, speaking about Ronnie, do you think in '98 he should have won the Olympia over Flex?
I think so, yeah, because I mean I was at the show. Ronnie was big. He was huge. He was more overpowering with muscle, of course.
So you think he should have won it? Because many people think that Flex
Yeah,
should have won
I
it.
mean, I think history speaks for itself because Ronnie won one, and then he came back. He just kept getting better and better and better. I don't think, as good as Flex Wheeler was, I don't think Flex Wheeler had the physique to be an 8-time Mr. Olympia. So I think the decision of giving it to Ronnie Coleman before us was the correct decision.
Yeah, but let's say we imagine that in '98 Flex won it. Probably the scenario will go totally different.
I don't think Flex would have been an 8-time Mr. Olympia.
Well,
No.
you know him better, so you can say. But I mean, Flex was more ecstatic at that time. I mean, in the final announcement when they
Yeah, but
both were staying on the stage.
you have to yeah, but you have to understand, being pretty and being that is just that, but
Yeah,
back then they were freaks,
yeah,
it's you have to have room to grow. You
yeah,
can't hold on to a Mr. Olympia title being 230 pounds or 225 or whatever he weighed. I think he's
yeah,
probably about 230, and there's no room to grow. So he's not going to be able to hold that title for so long. So I think the better choice was Ronnie Coleman. I think when the judges judge a competition, they judge what they see in front of them, but also they judge the potential in the athlete.
Hmm.
They look far beyond what our eyes can even see. And they saw that in Ronnie Coleman. They saw that in Lee Haney. They saw that in Dorian Yates. I'm more aesthetically put together than Dorian Yates.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so is Sean Ray, and so is
Yeah.
Flex Wheeler, but we still couldn't hold on to the title, and we still couldn't beat him because, what he brought to the table was his different type of genetics allowed him to be a freak of another nature and to get to a level of bringing hard, dense muscle that we just couldn't put on our bodies, so.
Yeah, so you're saying that criteria back then was just to be big and huge?
No, not only be the big and huge, but when you talk about a Mr. Olympia, you're talking about the true lion, the man's man. You're talking about the epitome of bodybuilding. You're talking about the most powerful, the most masculine, the most biggest, muscular guy in the
Yeah.
whole universe,
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Nowadays you see guys win shows, 240 pounds, Mr. Olympia, 220, Mr. It's different. And this is why I think the sport has taken a back seat to what it used to be, as far as the hard work and just finding a representative that is a man's man and just doesn't blend in. Back when we were competing, it wasn't close. It wasn't close. Now you got guys come on stage for the Mr. Olympia, and you don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
Back then, Mr. Olympia was 15, sometimes 20 pounds heavier than the other guys on stage.
Yeah, but let's say in 2008, Dexter won it. So I remember that everyone was saying, oh, they are totally changing the criteria. Now you need to be shredded and aesthetic, not so big, because they gave the Olympia to Dexter. So the whole politics are changing. Like they are trying to end up this so-called freak show. And then what happened? Again, the criteria went back again, like in the 90s. So what do you think about that?
I think, whatever the judges is doing, I mean, that's their decision. I'm not a judge. I'm not an IFBB judge. And I don't know what they're looking for. But all I know is if you do your history on every 6-time Mr. Olympia or every Mr. Olympia that's ever won a competition, he was light years in front of all the other competitors.
So I know a story about you and Ronnie Coleman. So you play a big part in him becoming Mr. Olympia, right? With your simple little advice. The alcohol
I
thing.
think, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us the whole story?
Well, I was in Russia in my hotel room, and maybe about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, I hear a knock on the door, and I look. It was Ronnie Coleman, and I opened the door and let him in, and we sit down and started talking. And he wanted to know what I was doing to stay in shape and win so many competitions, because we were on tour, and I had won, I think it was about 7 shows, and I won 6 shows.
Which year is that?
In a row. And I think it was a European tour in 1995. 1995, I believe. 1995. Russian. It was in Russia.
Yeah.
And he came in, and we sat down and we started talking. And he had never had a drink of alcohol before. And I just saw how serious he was. Sometimes bodybuilders can be too serious with just sticking everything so straight, right? It's just too much. And he was this kind of guy. It's just too much. And I'm watching him all the time, what he's doing. I'm like, you need to relax, man. You need to just chill out and relax, have a shot with me in the room, So we had a shot of vodka, had 1, 2, 3 shots. He started getting relaxed. And I said, don't worry about it. Just stop eating so much carbohydrates. This is the last show. You don't need to worry so much. You need to just stop forcing your body. Sometimes these athletes try to force their body to do things. So I was able to get him to relax and to just not do anything. Sometimes when you don't do anything, your body will do what it needs to do. So I got him to relax. I got him halfway drunk, and then he went back to his room, and he just woke up the next day, and he beat me in Russia, and then I never beat him since. You know, we went on for 10 years, 8 years. You know, he came back to America, won the. Then he went on to win the Mr. Olympia that same year, and that was it, man. He just never stopped, and that was the turning point of introducing Ronnie Coleman to the world, and it all happened in Russia at the Russian championships in 1995.
And were you
Yeah.
drinking every time before a competition?
No, not every time. Just when I always listen to my body. You know, the main thing is always listening to your body. To this day, I always listen to my body, and I feel as though your body will tell you what it needs. You know, and no, I didn't. I just did it all off of instinct. But something told me that he was so wound up tight, so worried about being a bodybuilder that he was trying to control his body instead of listening to his body.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to listen to what your body's trying to tell you. And this is why I always say that I don't believe that. I think coaches are okay. Coaches can guide you. Coaches can keep you in line. But ultimately, to be the top and to be one of the greatest, like a Michael Jordan or a Tiger Woods or Muhammad Ali or Ronnie Coleman or Dwayne Yates, you have to be in tune to what your body is trying to tell you, right?
Yeah.
And this is the most important thing. And this is where you find who you are as an athlete, when you're able to make that connection and make those decisions, what's best for you.
Yeah. But don't you think that alcohol actually makes you more vascular and more dry if you drink the night before the competition?
I think within that moment, yes, it does. But you have to know how to make these decisions, you know. And I go to some shows, but I saw Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman was really, really, really stressed out, you know. So I'm looking at him for 3 weeks. You know, we competed at the Olympia, and then I'm looking at him. So I'm watching everything he's doing because I'm competing against him. So, and I could see the stress in him, and I could see that he was just pushing everything. So I knew when he asked me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I says, "Hey, number one, man, you have to relax, because when your body gets stressed, your body's going to hold on to water.
Yeah.
It's a natural reaction for your body to protect itself. So you have to put your body in a state to where you're not overstressing, you're not overthinking, you're not pushing too much, man. And I see it happen with a lot of guys today in bodybuilding. They prepare for a show, they go to the show, they look better 3, 4, 5 days before the show. They get to the show, they get on stage, and they don't even look the same. They lose everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, in some way, I think this thing is related to cortisol, because if you're stressed out, you produce cortisol,
you know,
and you retain water.
But then also, guys, you know, they try to carb deplete, you know, they try to carb load, they try to carb deplete, they try to sodium load, you know, sodium deplete, they try to go to distilled water, they just try too many things. Look, I've seen pictures of you, you know.
Yeah.
You look better than 90% of these guys out here competing on stage, okay?
Well, what do you mean?
So consistent. Well, you're always in shape. You're always in shape.
Yeah.
You know, and I can tell that you don't do a lot. You don't take a lot of steroids. You don't force your body to do anything. Sometimes it's hard work waiting to do things the right way and let your body speak for itself. Like your conditioning and everything that you hold, you stay like that year round, you know? So for you, it's just who you are. It's your nature, and you understand that, and you know what your body can do. and what your body's not capable of doing. But a lot of these guys, they get to start and they think, wow, you know, I want to be an IFBB pro. I want to be a pro. I want to compete. And they don't even know anything about their bodies, you know? So when it comes to, and then they go out, they hire a coach. Oh, I want Kevin Levrone. Well, then they want to start doing this and start doing this. But really, they haven't even done the groundwork first.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm saying is that I see what you're doing. I see your groundwork. I see your conditioning that you're holding constantly. And this is not easy. It's not easy to look like this all the time. So this is who you are. And people don't realize, they may look at you and say, wow, I want to be like him. But they're not living like you. You know, they're not sacrificing all the things that you sacrifice to look like that. And this just doesn't happen overnight. You know, it takes years and years and years. This is your passion.
Yeah.
So when someone thinks, oh, you know, he just he looks like this because of the steroids he take. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's what I'm saying when I say that you look better than 90%. I'm saying 90% of guys out there who have pro cards, not as hardcore bodybuilders, but as somebody who say, oh, I want to be a pro. Well, you might be a pro, you might get a pro card, but it ain't going to last because your journey to getting it was a very, very shortcut, you know, to where I'm looking at you and that's why you have longevity. There's so many things when I see you and I observe your photos and stuff like that, man, I respect that because that's work. That's discipline. It's discipline more than anything, you know, and it's not driven from a steroid bottle. It's not driven from you wanting to be just an IFBB pro to be famous. That's who you are as a person and an individual. And that's why what makes you separate and stand alone than these other guys that want to be like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How big do you think you can become naturally?
I think naturally you can look phenomenal. You can accomplish some amazing things. I think you can get to a point to where you have one of the best physiques in the world, but naturally you cannot go and compete on the Mr. Olympia stage.
Well, that's for sure.
Bodybuilding and be a bodybuilder. It's not going to happen. You're not going to place in the top 12 on a Mr. Olympia stage. I'm saying hardcore bodybuilding, you know. But you will naturally be healthy. You will, you know, be in shape. You will last a longevity naturally than a hardcore bodybuilder. You look at all your hardcore bodybuilders now, you know, their bodies change. You know, they don't look the same anymore. You know, that drive mentality was just for that stage. It was for that purpose, to be great, to be a champion. But you take these natural athletes, these natural guys who don't take anything, they do it because they love it. That's who they are, you know. There's guys and friends that I know who are natural, and these guys in their 20s, when they get to looking 40s, and they still look the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can look at them. And so, I respect that, bro. That's why I had so much respect for Bruce Lee. It's the mind, you know? And I think I had to do, and we had to do what we had to do to take it to the next level. You know, for me, I didn't want to be a natural bodybuilder. So I had to make that transition. But for the guys out there that I see out there on Instagram in shape, doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not easy. These guys, that's their lifestyle. That's how they live, you know? And I respect that because not a lot of people can do that to that extent, the discipline in the gym every day, staying on the diet, you know, all year round. You might cheat a little bit on weekends, but it's really who you are. And that's what set you guys in the whole category by yourselves, you know?
Let's say, to be more specific, do you think a person can get a Frank Zane body naturally?
Yeah, definitely.
It depends on genetics. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people can,
genetics.
other people can. Yeah. So So by the way,
So, there's three different body types. There's three different body types. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Not everybody's going to look like you. Not everybody's going to have the genetics to look like you or look like me.
yeah,
But they have to just make the best of what God gave them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's it. And that's enough.
yeah, yeah. But most of the people are getting confused because they see people claiming natural and they are huge, right? Like, and all these people don't say, look, it's because of genetics. Let's say if people start using steroids and they want to look like you, there are probably 1 in a million that can achieve that. It's not everyone can achieve that.
This is not everyone can achieve it. And this is why I don't have a problem speaking about it, because you have to educate people. Because if you don't educate them and you don't be straight up with them, then they can destroy themselves.
Yeah.
If someone comes to you and say, hey, how do you look like this? Be honest. There's no secrets there.
Yeah.
Somebody say, hey, Kevin, what do you do? I'll say, hey, this is what I took. This is how much I took. I took it this. And when there wasn't no show, I didn't take anything. When there wasn't no show, I didn't even train. I only trained when I had a contest for it coming up, and I only trained and I only took enhancements. 3 months before a show. That's it. 2 times a year. That's it. That was my choice. That was the road that I took. And it worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah, but you need to tell them that if they still follow your steps and do the same thing as you're doing, they shouldn't have to they shouldn't expect to be the same as you because they don't have the same genetics.
Yeah, it's not going to work like that. Yeah.
Like
I think I was just telling someone today, like, what's your body weight? How much do you weigh right now?
I'm like 90 kilos, 95 actually. I'm a bit fat now. I don't know in
so you're
pounds.
About what?
I'm 200 pounds, something like that. I guess.
About 200. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you and I we weighed the same weight, and we had a suit custom tailored made for our bodies. If I had a suit made for me at 200 pounds,
yeah,
right, at the same weight as you
look huge.
But the suit's made for me, and you put the suit on, it's gonna look different because you have a different body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we all have different genetics, and we're gonna carry. It's gonna look different totally.
Yeah.
So I can weigh the same as you, but we're going to look different depending on the structure and our genetics. So, that's what people need to realize.
Well, I always give them a simple example. Like if you and me start to train and eat the same way as Usain Bolt, do we expect to run as fast as him? Hell no, right? It's genetics.
No.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same in bodybuilding.
Same thing, brother.
Yeah. Speaking about sprinting and sprints, I remember that you decided to race one of the fastest men on the planet, Dwayne Chambers. How did that happen?
Yeah. We were in Fullerton, California, and I think I was speaking to one of his trainers, and they kept saying, bodybuilders are slow. Bodybuilders can't run. Bodybuilders this. And, I ended up meeting Dwayne Chambers, and I took him on a challenge in a race.
Yeah.
I think maybe thinking back now, it was a big mistake for me. Because, again, genetics, right?
Yeah. No, actually, if you are not that huge, you still have some chances. But you were running like RoboCop. You were huge back then.
Yeah, but you think the more muscle you have, the more powerful and faster you can go, right? But
it's physics. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. And how do you? By the way, what was your diet before when you were on the top of your game, and before competition, do you think bodybuilders now use different strategies in dieting?
I don't know what they eat. I really don't know what they eat nowadays. I know when I was preparing for my show, I would take in 4,800 calories. I do a high protein diet, medium carbohydrate, and a low fat diet. And I knew down to the precise of milligrams what I was doing with everything. Again, everybody is different, but I knew what worked for me. I didn't eat meat. I didn't eat chicken. I just dieted on fish. I dieted on a certain kind of fish. I dieted on flounder. And I got my carbohydrates from sweet potatoes and brown rice, not white rice, and just sweet potatoes and brown rice. So I try to stay away from white potatoes and white rice and starchy carbs. So I figured this out because I would do contests, see what I look like, and then I would switch my diet, carbohydrate intake up and stuff. So you have to do these things to know what works for you, because again, the genetics, everybody processes things differently. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know what the guys are doing. I don't know how long they diet. I don't know you hear these crazy stories about the things that they take as far as supplementation, milligrams and everything, but I have no idea. I can only judge what my eyes see.
So you never had those zero carb days?
Yeah, of course I had zero carb days.
How many?
The longest I went with zero carbs was 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks, 2 weeks. Yeah.
So you also probably did carb rotation and stuff like that.
Did what?
Carb rotation.
You mean high carbs, low carbs?
Yeah, low carbs, then raise them again,
No, I never did that. No.
You never?
I would just cut them out.
Okay. So how did you decide to come back and compete in 2016?
Well, because mentally I wasn't satisfied with the way that I had left, and I had something inside my heart that I wanted to get out and just give it one more try. That's it.
So do you feel any difference between the early 2000s and 2016?
Oh yeah, big difference. Big difference. I look different. My knees hurt. A lot of things. It was very hard to come back. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to come back, but I tried my best. I really did, man. I tried my best. But more importantly, it was something I had to do, my own personal reasons for doing that, and I had to. It's like if you have something out there in life that you need to finish, go back and finish it. If there's someone who or relationship or something that you need to go back and fix, do it for yourself so that you can heal and move forward. For me, I just walked off the stage in 2003 and I never announced my retirement. I just walked away from the sport, because I had got 4 times runner-up at the Mr. Olympia, 4 times second, and I figured, wow, this is the only show in the world that I've never won, and I won everything else in the world. And I was competing for 15 years, and well, why? Why couldn't I just win the Mr. Olympia? And I had those answers those questions that were never answered, So this was the reason why I came back,
Yeah.
And I just had to do it. And I gave it my best shot. And I'm glad I went out on stage. It was one of the most memorable competitions ever in my life, even though I finished dead last. But it meant more to me because I could finally say that, I had come to with the fruition of it was now finished for me. So I had to do it. They say if there's something in life that you feel that you need to do and you need to address, and you don't do it, it'll eat you up inside. So I had to do it.
So speaking about Mr. Olympia again, I want to ask you, who do you think is gonna win it this year? Do you think, because Phil Heath is back, do you think he's gonna get another title?
I think he has the genetics to certainly do it. If he comes in right, if he comes in the Phil Heath that we're so used to seeing, I think he could win. You know, I think Brandon Curry has a lot of potential. I think Brandon just needs to bring up, you know, some body parts, you know, like his calves and stuff like this. Then I think he'll be unstoppable. I think Dexter Jackson also, if these guys leave a window open, then he could easily slide in there and win, because he's not a stranger to this stage. He's very comfortable up there, and he knows what he's doing. He's a legend. You know, this is his home. This is what he do, you know. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where it falls, you know, and to see what happens. I don't know if Big Rami's coming back.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, he is. I don't know. We certainly don't know what kind of package he's going to bring. But we'll just have to sit and wait and see. It's almost like the Mr. Olympia. For me, I think the title he could go either way.
Mm-hmm. So if he wins another title, do you think he can be claimed as the GOAT of bodybuilding, like the greatest of all time?
Who?
Better than Ronnie? Phil Heath.
Who? If what?
Phil Heath, if he wins it this year. Like, how many titles does he have? 7 or 8?
7.
Oh, so he gonna tie?
No, he has.
I think he has 7.
Does he have 7? Yeah, he'll tie Lee Haney and
Ronnie.
You know.
Yeah. So who do you think is the greatest of all time bodybuilder?
I think there's a lot of great ones. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, Lee Haney.
Yeah.
Dorian Yates.
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, but who's the greatest?
You know, again, there's not one greatest. That's like saying who's the greatest basketball player ever.
Well, it's MJ. It's easy.
Ever.
MJ is the greatest.
Jordan.
Yeah, and to me, like to me personally, Ronnie is the greatest.
Yeah, Ronnie. I don't know. Lee Haney was awesome, man. I mean, Lee Haney was in a class by himself. You know, for his time, for his era. You know, Lee Haney. He was phenomenal. If you really studied him, and you saw this man, he was phenomenal. Ronnie Coleman took it to another whole level. Of course, you know, he's the king. Ronnie's the king. You know, then Dorian Yates was dangerous. Dorian was the shadow. So you're talking 3 of the greatest in the world that has ever walked on a bodybuilding stage, man. You have to give them all equal respect, certainly.
Yeah, but let's say
look at
in basketball, because I watch basketball.
And Arnold as well, you know. Huh?
Yeah, in basketball, if you have to put someone, I always put MJ in front of everyone else. Right? It's the same for me in bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean that's my opinion too. I mean, MJ was the man, but you know, Ronnie Coleman was big, but Ronnie Coleman presentation wasn't good as Lee Haney's. Ronnie Coleman's posing routines was not the best on that stage. I could pose better than Ronnie Coleman. You know, Sean Ray could pose better than Ronnie Coleman. You know, Flex Wheeler could pose better than Ronnie Coleman. So when you talk about the greatest, you not only are you talking about the physiques, you got to talk about the presentation, the posing. I mean, when you gave Michael Jordan the ball, You know, it was everything about the guy. How he dribbled, how he moved, how he slammed, the things he did, how he brought the team back, how he was a team player, everything. You know, that's what make Michael so incredible, awesome. I think if Ronnie had have been, Ronnie's not known, but nobody even talks about his posing routines.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what posing routine in Ronnie Coleman's that sticks in your mind? You can't even think of it or song, right?
Oh, I remember him
So when you
playing
say,
Dre doing like this. That's what came up
oh
in my
yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
this right here. So his physique, oh yeah, his physique, oh yeah. Nobody. Ronnie Coleman was the most genetic gifted bodybuilder, as far as that across the board. Yeah, none, no other. The peaks on his biceps, no weaknesses, no nothing. You know, he was at that level of, yeah, of freakiness. You know, but when you say the greatest, I mean, I think Lee Haney's presentation, Lee Haney in his era was boom, boom, boom. Doing Yates, the things that he did on stage, and you know, he was the shadow. And then Ronnie Coleman came along and just took it to another level. So I'd have to say, and then Arnold. I mean, when Arnold did his thing with his posing, Arnold was a great poser and the mental thing. So I mean, you got a lot of bodybuilders that were Mr. Olympia that were great. For me personally, I can't pick one to say that one was the greatest above all of them. You know what I mean? Because when I look, I see the presentation, I see the pose, and I judge so many other things.
I think Ronnie is the greatest because of his dedication to the sport. That's why he's the greatest. I mean, even now, he's showing even more that he's the greatest. Like when I see his videos,
Yeah,
he's motivating me even more than before.
yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
guy could barely walk and he's still in the gym lifting, right?
yeah. Because you see what he's made out of. You see it's not what you saw on the outside that makes Ronnie Coleman. And I tell
Yeah,
people this. It's something inside his spirit
yeah.
that you cannot get out of a steroid bottle that makes this man unbelievable and sets him in a class by himself. It's that sheer willpower to continue to keep going and going and going and never stop and never quit, no matter what. And he never complains about anything.
Yeah, that's
You
that's
know,
the other
this
thing.
is what
I know
that's why
I'm
he's
not
in a
I'm not
category
sure.
by himself.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's faking it, but he's always smiling.
No,
Even
no.
when he was in the wheelchair, he's always
Oh,
smiling.
it's
He was going
yeah,
to the fucking
it's real.
expos on the wheelchair.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
You
unbelievable.
have to respect that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Because for me, I could never do it. I could never do it. I
Mm.
will never go out there like that. But for him, he's a true warrior, man. I respect that for him. Yeah.
I was in a bad condition. I wanted to hide myself from the world. You know, if
Why? What
I
happened?
well, I had so many injuries and surgeries. And let's say I was in the same kind of condition as Ronnie
Oh
is,
yeah.
and I wanted to hide myself. I don't want it to be seen. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, he was going to the expos in the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's dedication.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I used to compete against him, and he would say, I would say, why do you keep doing this, man? And this is when he had started, first started. He was getting dead last on all the shows and European tours, dead last for 4 years straight. Not placing, not winning no money, nothing. And he looked at me and he says, because I love the sport. I do it because I love the sport. I'm like, wow. I said, you must be crazy because I would never do it this long. Training like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
In some way, I think he is crazy.
Yeah,
But I think we all crazy. Like from a perspective of a normal person, we all crazy, right?
yeah, yeah. Do you ever talk to him? Do you know him?
No. Um, Probably he's
Really?
the only guy that I wanted to take a picture with. So I see
Really?
him. Yeah, there's one story I can tell you about. Like it was maybe 3 years ago in Germany at FIBO. We were at FIBO. He came in the wheelchair. So I'm at the hotel chilling. It's probably 12 o'clock. You know, he's coming with his wheelchair and his crew to his room. I'm staying down in the lobby. So I'm going to sleep. I see him going down. I go to my bed. I can't sleep. It's 2 in the morning. And I open my Instagram and I see Ronnie in a fucking 24-hour gym, lifting, screaming, "Yeah, buddy!" And I think like this guy is fucking crazy. He was in a wheelchair, 2 a.m. in the morning, and he is lifting. Crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So look, man, let me ask you a few questions. What made you get into bodybuilding? How
Oh,
did you get into this?
yeah, first I wanted to look like Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme. That was the first things. And then I went to basketball. I wanted to become a professional basketball player. So I played for 10 years, but I couldn't do it. So I got injuries in my knees. So when I was in the army, I decided to switch again to bodybuilding. So this is, I became a personal trainer. I started lifting, I had these great genetics. And this is how I started.
And what drives you? What drives you now, to do what you do?
I mean, the love. I mean, when I go to the gym, is the best feeling on the planet. This is what drives me.
In your days, I mean, do you stick to your diet all the time, or do you come off sometimes?
I don't know if I can say this is a diet, but let's say let's say I have some rules that I like, my golden rules that I follow. Like I don't eat carbs after 6. That's my golden rule, and I follow it.
I got one more question. A female friend of mine wanted me to ask you this question. They say you have the most you've known for having the most perfect beard in the world.
Yeah.
How is this possible?
I do all of this by myself. Like it's self-made.
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I do this by myself.
How do you keep it so perfect though? Do you put these things on your face to measure out where to do it, or
no?
how?
It's just it comes with the years, It comes with the years. I have even instructional video on YouTube where I show how I do it by myself.
This is the products that you should come out with, so these products to show the man how to grow the perfect beard.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to ask you about your supplement line. When did you start your supplement line?
The Signature Series in 2015. Right now, we're in over 80 different countries around the world. We started off with only 3 products, man. Only 3 products.
Which products?
I start off with the pump, Levrone pump. We started off with protein. It was a pre-workout, a protein, and a after-workout product. BCAAs. Yeah. And now today, that thought and idea, they just grew into, now we have Levrone Silver, the silver line, who we started off with silver with 3. Now we have about 15 different SKUs in the silver line. Then we come out with the Levrone black line. We have maybe about 15, maybe 12 or 13 different products there. We have 5 different proteins in the black line. Total different proteins. We have 15 different proteins. total. Then we come up with the gold line, Levrone Gold, and each year we increase as the market changed when it raw materials and
Yeah.
just like technology changed, so does the industry when it comes to raw materials and where the market is going. So we try to stay ahead of what the market is doing. And this is why, just like Mercedes Benz, BMW, or McLaren, or Ferrari, each year they come up with something new.
Yeah.
Technology is always changing. And with the Levrone Signature Series, it's a series of just constantly evolving. And we've done that. People might look at the line and they say, well, I want to start a supplement line. But hey, man, I mean, I've visited over 80 some different countries within the last 5 years. Half the time I'm gone. I'm on the road, doing tours around the world constantly. More out of America than I am home. And I don't think, again, greater the sacrifice, greater the reward. But, when you, not only an idea takes work, it takes effort. Then it takes a team. Then it takes marketing. Then it takes, if the product works. Just because you make something doesn't mean people are going to like it. So there's a lot of research that goes into feedback, what the people like, what they want, what each country's different. What's selling in China because of their culture, it sells different than in the Middle Eastern countries. That sells different than what's in Russia. It sells different than what's in England. So everybody's taste buds and everybody's culture is of their environment. So, and then what people like in India, they might not like in England. So, or in Poland. So everything, it's just a lot of research and a lot of groundwork that goes into it, and a lot of money, and patience.
Yeah.
So I go out, and it's not just about giving them supplements. It's about giving them who I am, teaching them how to train, teaching them how to be successful, teaching them, you can do things. It's building hope. And then the supplements come later, but it's building hope, whether you want to be in shape or you want to be successful, doctor, teacher, lawyer, whatever, it all applies to dedication, determination, and discipline. Just so happened, by me going on tour around the world when I would compete in bodybuilding from 1992 to 2003, I was able to go into Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Russia, Holland, Czechoslovakia, and compete in those countries. And they know me there. So over a period of 15 years, when I go there, they know me. There's that relationship. So when I go in there now, it's not something new that that they're just trying to understand. Well, who's this person and want to do supplements? I've won out of the 88 shows that I competed 88 times as a pro. I think 75 of those shows were overseas, So that was my market. Yeah, definitely. So, but
as I said in the beginning, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, you had posters in every gym in Bulgaria. So probably you had posters in every gym in the world about that time. So people should know you, right?
yeah. But I enjoy it, man. It's good, just seeing the different cultures and speaking to people and seeing how they think and finding a way that I can help them, without expecting anything. It doesn't matter if they buy the products or not. I don't do things because I'm looking for them to pay me. God bless me through a lot of different avenues, but things for me didn't come easy. You know, I didn't have a father. My father died when I was 10. He died in 30 days because he had cancer. You know, my mother died before I turned pro. She never lived to see any of this because she had cancer. All of my aunts and uncles, they all died from cancer, you know, and that's what drove me into eating healthy and everything. And there was many, many lonely moments in life. But, you know, the gym gave me hope.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding made me stronger and taught me how to believe in myself. And I think that no matter where you're at, no matter what you're going through, as long as you never give up, you'll never lose, no matter how long it takes. Just believe in yourself. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. That's a good end
Yeah.
for our conversation because I don't have any questions left. So I just want to thank you
Well, look, man.
for sharing your mindset, your philosophy with us. And for me, it was a great honor and a great pleasure to speak with you, brother.
Well, thank you, man. I see what you're doing, man. You're a huge inspiration. And I wanted to tell you, man, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're motivating me, brother, as well as motivating so many people that you have no idea who you're touching right now. So I want to say thank you for allowing me to have this honor and pleasure to get to know you, to get to talk to you. And thank you very much.